Elizabeth Palmer has just returned from Syria, a nation torn apart by a 4-year-long civil war. She has shared the stories of refugees and of militia fighters. Here is Liz's reporter's notebook.
The Syrian war has turned into a grinding stalemate. There are many fighting forces on the battlefield. The Syrian army, which is much depleted and exhausted, backed up by Iranian militias, Hezbollah. And on the other side, a whole range of rebel groups, from ISIS to the Al-Qaeda affiliate in Syria, Jabhat al-Nusra, to the relatively secular Free Syrian Army. None of them is strong enough or skillful enough to win. And so they all control patches of ground, and there is fighting somewhere in the country every day and every night. The Syrian army has tried to make the cities, at least, stable and under their control, with mixed success. The very old and beautiful city of Aleppo, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is at the moment an active battleground, very dangerous and very bloody. By contrast, on the west coast, in Latakia, which is where President Bashar al-Assad's family comes from, you wouldn't know there was a war on. People are on Latakia's beaches, they're sunbathing, they're having holidays, swimming, and ignoring or pretending to ignore that there is fighting raging just 30 miles up the road. In Damascus, the capital, things do look normal in the center, although on the outskirts in some of the suburbs there is fighting. And if you just sit and listen, you can hear an occasional mortar or some automatic weapons fire, every now and then a missile. But life in the center does go on pretty normally. And so it's turned into a magnet for refugees. Almost half of Syria's population before the war is now on the move, has been forced out of, people have been forced out of their homes by the fighting. And 7 million of them are on the move inside the country. Many of them have ended up in Damascus, occupying any spare square inch of space where they can camp until this terrible war is over. You find them in unfinished apartment buildings, in cheap hotels, in schools and government-run hostels, and the most destitute sleeping rough in the city's parks. We met Ahmed Mashenish. He's 80 years old. Many years ago, he was a doorman at the Damascus Sheraton Hotel. He was forced from his home by the fighting 3 years ago, and ever since he's been on the move. He had a place in a government hostel but was forced out, and now he is sleeping on a square of cardboard in one of central Damascus's parks. Syria's economy has imploded. The only reason the country is working at all, that people are getting salaries, for example, government workers or teachers or police, is that Iran is now bankrolling the Syrian government to the tune of more than $1 billion a year for the last 3 years. The other thing that's holding the country together is the grace and strength of the Syrian people. They were well known before the war to tourists in the Middle East as being exceptionally welcoming and gracious, and it's those qualities that have surfaced again in this terrible catastrophe. They draw some hope from the knowledge that all wars end, and their war is bound to end too, but they already know it will have been at a terrible cost. Elizabeth Palmer, CBS News, Beirut.